Hi guys, my name is Kiva and this is DIY with KB. So many of you have been telling me that you couldn't find crystals in your local home goods or that they were way too expensive. So of course the DIYer in me wanted to show you how to make them. This was such an easy project and I made this one just last week and it only cost me $20. So it's a really affordable project that's going to give you that great high-end look. All of the materials that you need for today's project will be linked down below in the description box. Before we get into today's video, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and check me out on Instagram at kiva.bren. Now let's get into it. So to do this project, you're going to need quite a few things. First, you're going to need pipe cleaners. Then you're going to need wooden dowels or really anything that you can use to suspend your crystal. You can use a Sharpie, a chopstick, a knife, really anything you have laying around. Then you're going to need borax. Borax is your most important ingredient. To make any type of big crystal, you're going to need probably 4 boxes of borax, but it's really affordable and you can find it at most major stores. Finally, you're going to need a glass jar or something that's really durable that can stand up to heat because you need something to grow your crystal in. It's important to remember that this has to be really clean because any debris you have in here will end up in your crystal. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your pipe cleaners and form them into circles and make kind of random shapes and connect them together to kind of get the base shape of your crystal. This is definitely time consuming and you want to make sure that there are enough folds and stuff so that there's ample surface area for your crystal to expand upon, because if the pipe cleaners aren't close enough together, it's not going to grow evenly. Again, you're just going to want to fold your pipe cleaners so that there's enough surface area for the crystal to grow upon. I just kind of twist them on my finger and then I tie them all together. And honestly, I use about 25 pipe cleaners for a small one. The big one that we made last week actually took 100 pipe cleaners. So it definitely takes some time, but this is definitely something you can get your kid to do or your husband or whatever so that you don't have to do this hard part. But it's really essential that it's a really tight shape that you get, and also remember that this shape is kind of the base shape of the crystal. Obviously it is going to grow how it grows, so you're going to just have to be okay with the uncertainty. Once you have finished doing that, it should look like this, and then you're actually going to want to like scrunch it together a little bit. That's going to make sure that the pipe cleaners are nice and close together. The next step is to suspend your shape that the crystal is going to grow upon. You don't want it to touch the bottom or the sides of your container because then it's going to get stuck and then you're going to have to redo this. And I just suspend it using a pipe cleaner and then those wooden dowels, and you just lay the wooden dowel across and then you try to gauge how high you want to suspend the crystal, because you need to have enough liquid to completely cover the crystal, but again, you do not want it to touch the bottom. So it's just a little bit of trial and error. And you want to tie it to the dowel tight enough so that it will stay suspended even with the weight of the crystals. Next, you want to get a huge pot of water boiling. It has to be boiling, and preferably use a pot that you don't use for food, because obviously you don't want any leftover borax residue in a pan that you cook with. But again, I'm going to say it has to be boiling because you want to get it as hot as possible so that you can dissolve as much borax as possible. Once everything is boiling, you are going to take your borax and start pouring it into your pot. You're going to want to use a wooden spoon, or again, just a spoon that you don't use for food or you're okay with throwing away afterwards. And you're going to dump in a lot of borax. You're going to be really uncomfortable because you're going to be like, oh, this should definitely be enough. No, it's not enough. You want to keep adding borax until it looks like milk. You know that you have enough borax when you see a lot of the particles floating in the solution. It's not dissolved, and of course you can't see through the water at all. It's completely murky. Also, you're gonna wanna use your container and dump it in there to get the water out, because otherwise you make a huge mess. But again, remember that this is very hot, so be careful. Again, this is what it should look like when it's done. I just put it on a trivet so that it doesn't mess up my counters. And then I'm just going to lower my dowel into the solution. And if you can see here, it's not completely covered with the liquid, so I'm just pouring some extra in there using a little bowl, one of my seasoning bowls that I'm okay with getting rid of. And you can see here that the borax is precipitating out, and that's exactly what we want to happen to create our crystals. And this is what it looks like after a few minutes. You can see that the crystals are forming, and you're just going to leave it like this overnight, and then the next day you'll have a beautiful homemade crystal. Of course, since they are homemade, you have to keep them in certain conditions, not too hot, not too cold, but it's a really easy, affordable project. Online, it actually says if you put clear nail polish on there, it will prevent it from cracking, so that's definitely something that you can try. Because I keep my home at a very cool temperature, it's been perfectly fine, and I've had it for about a week now. Here, I just wanted to try again using some dye. This is some water-soluble dye I got from Walmart, and this is just allowing me to create a black crystal. I'm gonna do the exact same things as before, just with some extra color. You can pick up really any type of color dye and it should work. Probably you should use black pipe cleaners instead of white ones, or whatever color you want to dye it, you should use that color pipe cleaner. But yeah, it's very easy, and you just want to actually dye it in the container you're going to suspend it in so that you don't ruin your pot. Now all that's left to do is let them cool and crystallize. Probably give them 8 to 12 hours. I do it at like sometime in the afternoon and leave it overnight, and then the next day you should have crystals. It's the next morning and I just pulled the dowel out, and this is my crystal. I'm using a paper towel to dry the bottom of it. You're gonna wanna let your crystals dry out. If you try to use them immediately, they're just going to stain whatever you're dealing with. They need to get all of the liquid out of them. And then next, I'm just going to use my scissors to cut out the pipe cleaner so that you won't see it. And then you're just gonna trim it down as much as you want so that it looks like there wasn't a pipe cleaner and it just looks like a crystal. And that's it. I love the way this black crystal turned out, and I also love my huge white one. It looks really high-end and only cost me about $20 to make. Thank you so much for watching DIY with KB. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and check me out on Instagram at kiva.brent. Remember to preserve your crystals well, don't put them in too hot or too cold of temperatures, and you can cover them with clear nail polish to help preserve them better. Thanks for watching.